So I am delighted to have into the Design Notes studio one of the brains behind the hugely successful Fantasia Games, the company that brought you Endless Winter, Unconscious Minds, and loads of stuff in the future, I'm sure. This is Yorgos Tsalamanis. Yorgos, welcome to the Design Notes studio.
Thank you for having me here, and thank you for pronouncing my name correctly.
I tried, but you know, it's all Greek to me.
Perfect. It's perfect.
So, my first question is, you know, in life we don't get to brag very much. We don't get to talk about ourselves. So here, I want you to feel as braggadocious as you want. So, when did you realise that you were good at what you do?
Well, uh, let's be clear. When I think about what I'm good at, I look at it as more wide, like in the creativity part. So I think one of the moments that I realized that I'm good at the creativity department, let's say, is when I got I had a successful examination in fine arts, and I got in the university because I was hearing that it's quite difficult here in Greece to get accepted in university, and there were rumors of people trying 5 years to be accepted. So when I succeeded, it was something that people were talking about, and I because I prepared myself only for, let's say, 3 months in drawing before I do that. So yeah, that was the first bell. The second bell was quite funny because I was in the army and they asked who wants to join a kind of a research about that it's going to help you to decide what you're going to be in the future and what's your skills, etc. So I made this test that surprisingly it was very interesting because it had a great variety of questions and also some skill test or some IQ test, you can say. So once I received the results, it was very funny because in the creativity part, I got an excellent of 10, and then there was a section talking about if you are a person that can work in the office, and I took 1 out of 10. So I said, okay, it seems like I have a very specific proposition from this test. And okay, going back to the board game industry, uh, there was a moment where I was co-designing games with a friend of mine, Zax, that we also co-design now. He's one of the designers of Unconscious Mind. And when we were going to Essen for the first time, bringing our prototypes there, we saw a lot of expression of they were fascinated, let's say, when we were presenting the prototypes, and there were a lot of proposals from people. Why don't you make your own company? It was this comment coming again and again. So in a way, it kind of influenced me towards this direction.
And so, can you tell us, firstly, a bit about the structure of Fantasia Games and what you actually do there?
Sure. So I'm mostly into the creative department. I'm usually the one that is struck with an idea about something. Usually it is the concept that strikes me, but sometimes it can also be a combination of a mechanical hook with the concept. And then we discussed this with my partner Thanos that he's coming also from a creative background. I'm coming from fine arts, and Thanos is coming from he was a professional musician. So we discussed together this idea, and if it's let's say interesting enough, we start to think who can be the perfect fit for this, and I approach him usually since I'm in the creative department. We discuss together. We give them an envision of how this is going to work, and then I'm trying to be as much as involved with the process of the game as a project manager and art director at the same time. Yeah, so I'm not taking so much part in the game design since we have our lead developer and designer Johnny Pak in the studio. But there are times that I will give my suggestions regarding uh, game mechanics or mechanical hooks because an all-around player. Since I know about art, I used to be an artist and I used to be a game designer, and now I'm a product manager. So this flexibility and experience kind of helps me to give ideas that can work.
So let's go back to the beginning then. So you studied fine art and you got
Sure.
into game design, but what was the journey that got you into publishing specifically and got you as a part of Fantasia Games?
Well, the to be honest, the whole thing it was like a roller coaster of creativity. I knew from the very beginning that I love to create worlds out of nothing, and it started with the process of me becoming a professional painter since I was in fine arts, and then I went to London for a master degree in Goldsmiths University, and all this time alongside my university, I was experimenting myself with digital form of arts, uh, with graphic design, working with advertisement companies, being later an illustrator. So I think the key point when I got into the board game industry, it was when I was asked from my friend Zax to help him with uh, with a project they had in mind, kickstart to crowdfund a project back in 2014, and I helped them with the board of that game. So after that, we start discussing, and I start to realize that you know what, this field kind of feels very familiar to me because I knew about how to make illustrations. I knew about graphic design. I knew about being the director of a music clip. So all those things start to connect together. And a last thing that helped me a lot, it was the times when I used to organize a team in order to make photo shootings inside nightclubs. Although this sounds, very irrelevant, it actually is very relevant in the sense of making a strong team. And this, you cannot imagine how much it helped me along the way with Fantasia.
And so you've worked with quite a few board game designers up until this point. Do you think game designers are born or made in your experience?
So, this question always used to exist in the field of fine arts too. There was this question keep coming: is the talent something that you need in order to become an artist, or if you struggle enough, you can reach a point where you can do things? Um, I think I'm somewhere in between. I definitely believe that with working hard and not letting yourself be disappointed in something that you really like, it can help you out. But there is always this kind of little spark that can help some people have an easier entry point, let's say. So it can be seen also in different kind of fields in our life, even with the simpler things like, let's say, going to the gym. Someone, when he goes to the gym, it's very difficult to have an entry point. He can become dizzy or he's weak enough to hold the weights. But if he struggles enough, you can see a great progress. But at the same time, you can see some people that they are born for this kind of stuff. Let's say, think about Schwarzenegger, how he was in the age of 16, you know? So yes, it's different start. There is a different starting point from every people. But if you struggle enough, I think you can reach where you want to be. It's only a matter of time that can help some people and doesn't help that much others.
Okay, so let's talk now about the sort of nitty gritty of the thing. So, can you give us an overview of your publishing process, like from the beginning until the game is out in people's hands?
Sure. I can let you know what is our process now because uh, for Endless Winter, it was a bit different since we were a newcomer company. We just knew that we want a game designed for from a more experienced, let's say, designer. And at that point, we were discussing with Stan, and we loved the game. And then we started the other way around. We were thinking when the game came to our hands, it was like a generic Ice Age theme. So we're thinking, okay, what we can do in order to make it a bit more interesting, create a twist for it. So it worked a bit the opposite direction. But usually, how it works is that every day I try to get influence from things that come to my attention, and I have my phone, where I write down all my ideas. So those ideas they become uh, more and more ready along the way. And once I believe that this idea kept strong for the months or the years to come, I believe this is the right point that we can focus more with it. And I propose it to the team, and we start discussing about how we can go with that. And then we brainstorm ideas about the mechanics and what kind of designer would be ideal for this kind of game. And the same thing about the artist. So all the time we are trying to think who is the best fit for that game, and we try to have an in-house process of how the game is going to be created. I want to make clear that there is no something in particular that we focus as a company for the creation of the game, just because we consider every step very important. We try to give our maximum to every step, even in iconography or the rulebook or the production. Everything that seems so important for us. So I cannot really, if someone comes and say, okay, where shall I invest my attention in the creation of a board game? My answer would be to everything. You know, we we're trying to make passion projects that there is uh, nothing that is left without giving some good thought about it.
So you've got an in-house developer who's a game designer that a lot of people will know, and that's Johnny Pack. How did that happen? How did you develop that relationship?
Well, when we were working with Endless Winter, we realized quite soon that since we were adding many changes to the game and we wanted to, as I said, we enjoy the in-house development. Uh, we tried ourselves to give this development part to the game, but quite soon we realized that our skills, you know, are they have a maximum. Let's say they reach their maximum. So it was that point that we were looking at successful designers that they. It's a funny thing. We were also looking who has a seal of excellence, at least one seal of excellence from Dice Tower. This was like our only, let's say, criteria at that point to consider someone that is a very good developer or designer. And after that, of course, we want to get to know each other and see if it's a good fit for the company. And yeah, with Johnny Pack, let's say it was a love at the first sight. We contacted him, and he was very friendly and very open minded. And I remember that we introduced to him Endless Winter, and he said, "Okay, I'm gonna make a prototype, and I'm gonna come back to you with suggestions." He really liked the game, and then after a week, he came back with I honestly don't remember, but it was like something 20 pages of notes, something like that. So we were really amazed with his skills, and as I said, we from that point we consider now Johnny as our friend. Honestly, he's like Fantasia also.
So I want to talk about some more general stuff now. So what do you see as the state of the game industry at this point?
Well, that's a tricky one because um, on the one hand, we all know, sorry, about the uh, unstable situation that there was with the shipping and the factory production costs and all that. Uh, but on the other hand, I can see a boom that is happening in the hobby right now that you cannot underestimate. I mean, I can hear quotes about the good old times of crowdfunding where shipping would be sometimes free, and that you would know exactly what the cost would be. And also, there wasn't VAT in Europe and all that stuff, which sound great. But at the same time, if you check um, the funds that they existed and the amount of backers, it wasn't that you know big as they are now. So it's debatable where you want to be, and I think right now it's a very interesting point to be because I feel that there is so plurality out there that like contemporary art, at some point it was really difficult to become a famous artist, but at the same time it was amazing because you could do whatever you want. I feel in the same way that board game industry is right now. It's difficult to become successful because there is so much game out there, but at the same time, it's an amazing challenge for you to think out of the box and make something really special that people can endorse if you are a first game publisher.
And
Also, I have to mention, sorry for that, I have to mention that I'm coming from Greece, from a country that struggled for 10 years with economic crisis. So this stability, I have to say, it's somehow inside our DNA here. So every day we didn't know if we were going to have a job or what we're going to do in the future. So I think this flexibility of being able to adapt in new circumstances kind of helped us, me and Thanos, with the board game industry. So every step we would take, we would always have alternatives, alternative solution of what if this goes wrong, what if the other goes wrong. That's why I believe we succeeded for our first campaign, Endless Winter, although being very complex for a first game project, to succeed to deliver it quite successfully.
so on Endless Winter, then, it was very successful. And Unconscious Mind was also very successful, and I like to think that probably it was because of my amazing voiceover.
Of
But
course,
why do you think Fantasia Games have got the attention of the gaming public?
yeah. Um, so to be honest, is what I said before about not having a specific field that we focus on. I think this is what make us strong. Is that we take seriously every different stage of board game development, and we try to make the best out of it. Also, at the same time, I have to say that it's the theme twists that we try to bring on board, alongside the thematic mechanics and a great production. All those things matter, and not only that, we are trying to have a great value for money thing. So we are not going, although we have a very deluxified game, for example, we always think keep the price down, keep the price down, have a good entry point for every backer to enjoy the game. Um, and this is accompanied with transparency, good communication. We try to be very honest and very clear what we're aiming for, and not bringing surprises to backers, and trying to be ourselves.
So, you've been in the gaming market for a while. You're still a young company, but do you think that there is a bubble? And do you think there's a chance that the gaming market may collapse at some point in the future?
Uh, I personally think that things might change soon in the way that you present a game in the market. But I honestly don't believe that there's going to be a point where people will stop suddenly playing board games. This is an experience, let's say, that is here to stay. And the more we go into the digital world, I believe that people more and more will enjoy the physical appearance of something and engagement with people and socializing, etc. So I believe the only thing that might change might be the numbers a bit, but not something significant. What can change though might be the crowdfunding platforms, the retail industry. All those things can change, honestly. And there can be something totally different that we can imagine at the moment.
So, talking about the future then for Fantasia Games, what do you have coming out in the future?
Oh, quite many things. Um, I can start by saying what is in the pipeline. I can talk with you about Sweet Mess pastry competition. This is a quite interesting story because actually this is the first game I ever designed and made art for it with alongside my friend Sax, and was about to be. It was crowdfunded back to 2018, if I'm not mistaken. But for logistic reasons of that company, it wasn't us. They could never deliver the game to the backers, and this was very unfortunate because you can imagine that it was also a game that we loved so much at that point. So when Endless Winter finished the campaign, we were contacted from that publisher if we can help in this situation, and we give it some thought, and we actually decided to step in very seriously. As I told you, in Fantasia, we take things seriously when it comes to board games. And for that reason, not only we revamped the art for the game, but also we spent 1 year with the new team that we had now with Johnny Pack and all the other contributors, our playtest team, in order to redesign the game and make a fresh start for it. Then we communicated all our partners and our licensees in order to create more volumes for the game and a bigger print run. And we used all this profit in order to be able to deliver the game. And not only that, we were happy to provide a funding, let's say, part of the productions ourselves without expecting any profit out of it. Hopefully, the profit can come in the future through retail or whatever, but we are very proud for this project because we believe that we have now a great game in our hands, a great family cooking pastry game that is going to deliver to packers, and people will enjoy it in 8 different countries at the same time. So this is Sweet Mess. The next one is coming very soon in Kickstarter. It's called Flow, and is designed from Henry that did Parks, Henry Audubon. It's a game and also illustrated by Andrew Bosley that did Everdell. It's an open world action adventure game, and the twist about it is that although it's an adventure game and exploration game, it's not a story-driven campaign game, and we tried to to get this to bring this experience from the story-driven campaign games into a game that is more straightforward, one of single play, but still there are things that you know they're very thematic while you play, and you still find elements in the process about the realm, about the what happened, and things are like that in the village of Flow. But also, the more you play the game, the more you unlock content for your future plays. So there is an element there of progress, and it's the setting is a, an Arctic, let's say, iceberg sea, where those little fantasy heroes um, explore the iceberg sea and try to find crystal to understand their past. Because there used to be a kingdom that shattered into pieces, and now they're trying to understand what happened. Yeah, that is Flow. You can see more about it, and it's coming most likely by the end of uh, March. 28th of March is actually the date that we have announced. And then there is a third project that is coming with Fantasia in the beginning of next year, though. That at the moment, as we speak, is not announced, but I guess that is going to be announced very soon. So most likely, people will know already that we are making um, a revamp of the successful game Colosseum,
Mm.
and this is very special project for us because first of all, we're it's the first time we're dealing with a classic game, so it's a big challenge for us to be able to deliver something that can compete with his ancestors. But at the same time, as you know, this game was revamped already from TNG, and since TNG is closed down now, it's not available. So, but at the same time, people have the experience of this game being revamped 4 years ago. I don't remember exactly, but quite soon. So it's a double challenge for us, not only to make something interesting out of that, but also I have to say that we are going to pay more tribute to the classic of the Days of Wonders. People will be able to see that through the cover, but also the mechanics of the game. And what we did there, and why this is very challenging and interesting, is that not only we are taking the game and we revamp it, but we actually split the game in a game that pays tribute to the classic, but also introduces some new mechanics. And you can either play the same game with the classic rules or with the new rules. But we also are going to create a sequel that is going to be based in the concept of the classic game, but with new rules in a co-design of the Wolfgang and Marcus and Johnny Pack. The last thing I want to mention is that the first game is going to be illustrated by Micho and the graphic design from Ian O'Toole, while the sequel is going to be illustrated from Ian O'Toole himself and, of course, the graphic design. The graphic design is going to be like a bridge between the two games. So, very excited about that.
Brilliant. So, what niche do you think Fantasia fill in the gaming world?
So basically, you ask what Fantasia Games makes differently than the others, so it feels something in the market. I think I replied to the previous question about that, but I will keep talking a bit about it. So I believe Fantasia is all about passion projects. This is what signifies the studio. If there is no if we don't have a project that we are really passionate about in order to do it and give our 100% to it for every little tick that I was telling you about, then we just don't do it. So I I don't know what to say as a recipe that we do this and that's why we become successful. But what I can tell you is that we are very, very passionate about every little step of the games that we do. And this is somehow reflected when the game comes out. Of course, it helps me personally, the experience that I had before with other publishers, because I was involved with their campaigns and I was learning a lot, and I can use this experience. But honestly, I think that this love for what we do, and at the same time, the production value, the price point, the communication, it's all this package that makes something interesting for the backers or the community in general.
So, two more questions then. So, firstly, you're at Essen, and in the evening, you go to a bar and have a couple of beers, and you're coming back from the loo, and you hear a table of gamers talking about a Fantasia game. So, you go into the corner and you listen to what they're saying. What do you hope they're saying about you?
I want to be clear that we are very open to criticism. So if I would hear something, a critique, I would be again very interested to hear. Of course, if it was a compliment, it's a double happiness for me, a happy moment. But to be honest, one thing I want everyone to agree with us is that we are very transparent and not at all very open minded to suggestions. This is something that I'm very proud of our team, that we always hear what uh, gamers have to suggest, although we are the ones that will take the final decision. But we never say, that this is it, this is how it's going to be. We trust our talent, we trust our expertise. No, we I personally, and I think the whole team believes that whoever has a great idea, I mean, ideas can come from the most unexpected place. And if you are experienced enough, or at least open enough to hear those proposals, you can have a great game. And this is another secret of Fantasia, now that I start to think about, that we were always open to hear ideas and to make the game better. And Endless Winter, keep in mind that it took a long time until we would lock the mechanics. We even made a small tournament in order to gather and collect ideas out of this tournament in order to finalize the rules. And it's an ongoing process. Even now, for example, once the game was delivered, we heard that the solo was not challenging enough. So we made this extra step, and we have created some expert rules for the solo. Then we heard that the game, uh, the core game, would be nice to have a more challenging um, mode. So we even think now proposing some more difficult, let's say, modes for the game. It's an ongoing process. As I said, it's not a one-off thing for us. We want to come back to the games again and again until more and more people are happy with them.
So, my final question then is, why is gaming good?
Well, first of all, it makes our lives interesting instead of watching TV. But it's also a very healthy hobby and a fun hobby to have. So I think this enjoyment that it has so many different aspects to it is what drives everyone to be involved with, and we are very happy to be part of this. We wake up every day with joy that we want to start working. It's this thing that when you do something that you love, you won't work anymore. You won't go to the job anymore because it's something that you love. I think the same thing comes if you are just a board gamer. You have something like your little safety area, a very creative field that whenever you step in, interesting things can happen.
Excellent. Well, Yorgo Tsalamanis, thank you very much.
Thank you also for having me.